Hello there, hello world, how are we all? I hope we're all doing well, I hope we're all doing good. Yeah, I know it's been a while since I've made videos, and I promise you I haven't fallen off the face of the earth. This channel is not dead, at least I don't want it to be. I promise you I am gonna make a much better effort to make much more videos from this point onwards. So, welcome back to Nerdy Keith, and welcome to episode 5 of Trekspire. So without further ado, all crew report to your stations and engage the new intro. So it is without a doubt that Star Trek has been a source of great inspiration for some really great creators all across our little planet of Earth. Many of these creators are authors of some really great science fiction. In fact, I myself have been writing a sci-fi novel for quite some time, and yes, my own writings are very much inspired by the late and great Gene Roddenberry and his Star Trek universe. So let us look at 5 authors who have been greatly inspired by Star Trek. Peter Turias. Peter Turias is the author of such works as The United States of Japan and Bold New World. Turias says, and I quote, "What I loved about Star Trek was that its focus wasn't so much on science fiction as it was about humanity and deeper social issues. The best episodes bring a whole new perspective on modern problems and form an ideal which we can aspire to, whether it's the historical and moral quandaries of the next generation, to how religion and war push the boundaries of the Federation in Deep Space Nine. Whenever I write, I think about the way my favorite episodes influenced me." It's interesting hearing from other science fiction authors to how Trek inspired them, and I have to say I have some very similar thought patterns to Peter Turias when it comes to how Star Trek inspires me in regards to my writing. Now, while we're not trying to create a Star Trek clone like the Orville, no offense, Seth MacFarlane, or create a Star Trek spin-off, we are, however, understanding and taking the many themes of morality and how religion is portrayed and other themes of morality in Star Trek. The philosophy of humanism, for example. We're taking the inspiration of that and that philosophy, and we are using that as a blueprint, if you will, for our own writings. And it's a really powerful tool, in my opinion. For me, many of the episodes of Star Trek Voyager were most inspiring to me, especially the episodes Workforce and Counterpoint. FYI, Counterpoint happens to be Kate Mulgrew's, aka Captain Janeway herself, her favorite episode. Which isn't really surprising at all, because it is such a great episode. I highly recommend it. It's not just a really great piece of science fiction, but this episode does a really great job of illustrating just how many civilizations can fall to authoritarian rulership, and how authoritarian dictators can overpower the masses and cripple the marginalized, which is a great inspiration for my writings. George Lucas. Yes, strictly speaking, Lucas is not an author, as Star Wars was originally written as a script and not a novel. However, that did not stop the novelizations of the Star Wars universe occurring afterwards by other creators. But Lucas is an honorable mention in the world of science fiction, and this is what he had to say about Star Trek. Star Trek softened up the entertainment arena so that Star Wars could come along and stand on its shoulders. There was an effective group of people in the beginning who accepted it, that it wasn't that far out. For the studios, it was way far out. But there was a fan base out there, primarily the Star Trek fan base, who understood sci-fi, understood visual sci-fi, and was ready for something like Star Wars to be in the feature arena. I personally am a fan of both Star Trek and Star Wars. I do think that both fictional universes both have something to offer. I do, however, have mixed feelings on the Star Wars sequel trilogy. But while I do appreciate both, I do lean more towards Star Trek than Star Wars and more passion for the Star Trek universe as a whole. But it is interesting to hear how influential Star Trek was to Lucas. And in many ways, it helped Star Wars. Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur C. Clarke is regarded by many to be one of the finest science fiction authors of all time, best known for his masterpiece, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Roddenberry has been cited stating that Clarke gave him the courage to pursue his Star Trek project in the face of indifference and even ridicule. But what had Clarke to say about Star Trek? Appearing at such a time in human history, Star Trek popularized much more than the vision of a spacefaring civilization. In episode after episode, it promoted the then unpopular ideals of tolerance for differing cultures and respect for life in all forms, without preaching, and always with a saving sense of humor. Over the years, the sophistication of storylines and special effects have certainly improved. But Star Trek retains its core values, still very much needed in our sadly divided and quarreling world. It would seem to me that Clarke really understood the true essence of Star Trek, and he clearly held Gene Roddenberry to the utmost admiration. When Gene Roddenberry died, Clarke wrote the following as a tribute to his memory. "Few men have left a finer legacy. The Enterprise will be cruising the galaxy for centuries to come." I very much agree. The Star Trek universe, created by Gene Roddenberry, truly is one of the finest legacies in all of fiction. To think that it has been almost 60 years since Star Trek first graced our presence on television, and it's still around and it is still inspiring the multitudes today. Eugene Myers. Eugene Myers, best known for such works as Fair Coin and The Silence of Six. Myers is a writer who admits that his own writings are directly inspired by Star Trek. Star Trek clearly influenced and perhaps inspired my first novel, Fair Coin, particularly the alternate universe episodes Mirror Mirror and Parallels. In my freshman year of college, I joined a discussion group about the moral and philosophical issues in Star Trek, which later expanded to reflect all science fiction. That was probably the first time I looked at the shows critically and recognized how often they commented on human nature and problems in society. Even with all the science fiction literature I read growing up, Twilight Zone and Star Trek most shaped my interest in science fiction and the kinds of stories I wanted to tell. Again, this is something I resonate with so much. The concept of social commentary within writing is such a powerful tool and such a very engaging means to tell a story. Susan Jane Bigelow. Susan Jane Bigelow is a science fiction author, best known for such works as the Extra Human Union series of books. And this is what Bigelow has to say about Star Trek. "I would say that Star Trek captured the essence of a grand venture into a dangerous, limitless unknown more than any other science fiction I've ever encountered. A lot of my love of science fiction and humanity's own real-life space programs sprang from the sense of wonder Star Trek kindled in me. I also have a real love of stories set on spaceships, especially ones that are all about interaction and drama between members of the crew. But mostly, I think Star Trek gave me a love of storytelling." Of course, there are many more authors and aspiring authors who have been inspired by Star Trek in so many different ways. From the love of adventure, by the mere idea of boldly exploring the vastness of our universe, to facing the unknown, and of course the ethical principles of the Federation of Planets. Have I missed any other notable authors also inspired by Star Trek? If I have, please let me know down below in the comments, or you can submit a video response. But until next time everyone, live long and prosper, and keep on making it so. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to check out some of my previous videos, and also feel free to follow me on my social media, including Mastodon and Blue Sky.